touring with Tom Sandoval.
Yeah.
How has that been?
Super fun. It's like less pressure when you're doing background vocals.
Being open to
learning.
to learning. You can unlock things maybe that you didn't think about before.
I always think too, like a lot of people vocally are self-taught, so we do things to like compensate or like to like reach for notes that actually like hinder us. I always think like piano too, like if you were like going up in like the full octave, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you like switch your thumb under, right? Like there's like a way to get there so you're not like doing all this crazy shit.
Right.
There's a way to do that vocally as well. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And if you're taught yourself piano and you just kind of do like a handover instead of figuring out how to maneuver, it might work. It might get the same sound, but is it the best path to get there? And that's where a voice coach steps in. And it's a muscle. So like you want abs, baby, how often are you gonna work out? You know what I mean? Like you want pecs? You want rippling biceps? Like what are you gonna do? Yeah. I was really inspired by Tom even. Like he was always like, we're going out doing the show. Like he never wanted to cancel, he never backed down. Like he always took responsibility and got up there, and like that was such a big lesson for me and inspiring, being like no matter what, like you show up and you do your job and you work, you know. And then one crowd in Philadelphia made me cry.
Oh no, what happened? This is They're Good at That Shit, and my guest today does singing background vocals for Tom Sandoval, who many of you may know from Vanderpump Rules.
Yeah.
She's also a great vocalist in her own right. Maddi Fraser, thank you so much for being here, joining me. This is so fun. Okay, I feel like the LA singer-songwriter scene is the independent scene. I mean, is a factory where they bake a secret recipe of really good cookies.
Oh yeah.
And nobody knows the complete recipe.
Yeah.
But we're all trying to figure it out.
Okay.
But like somebody knows the sugar.
Yeah.
And somebody knows the flour, and somebody knows the eggs.
Yeah.
And so what I'm trying to do is like, let's talk about those ingredients that people individually have, and then hopefully somebody can put it all together
and make us all famous
and make us all famous and
superstar singers.
Yes, with the great ass cookies.
Yeah.
So what I want to talk to you about today is probably one of the most important ingredients.
Okay.
As a singer is the voice. And you have an amazing voice.
Thank you, Broadway.
Of course. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. First, I want to talk to you about touring with Tom Sandoval.
Yeah.
How has that been?
Super fun.
Yeah.
Super fun. We have another tour coming up the end of September.
Okay.
I don't know when this is going to come out, but September-ish. So it's super fun. It's like a really, like, you know, it's not, I wouldn't say relaxed, but it's like less pressure when you're doing background vocals, because it's not like you sell the tickets and you've got to promote. Like, and I do promote and I do invite all my friends and stuff, but it's a really fun way to like practice different kinds of genres of music and different kinds of performance. Because I always say like background singing is a different muscle than singing lead. You know, you can't take over too much. You got to complement, not lead. So that's super fun, and I love the band.
Yeah.
Great people.
Yeah.
Oh my God, like some of my besties.
All right.
Yeah, I've met like my best friends doing that. Yeah.
So how is it just being on the road and touring, and what do you have any crazy stories from the road?
Yeah. So I mean, touring is so much fun. I love traveling, and so like getting to travel for work is like ideal, you know, and especially with people that you love and you get to see so many people. We used to be a little bit crazy, but if you watch Vanderpump Rules, like this past couple years has been a little bit more brutal for poor sweet Tom and all of us. And so there were some shows where like the audience was a bit brutal, which like I don't think like with like normal music gigs you actually get that like ever. Like people don't like come to like watch for like a spectacle, you know, because like the band is amazing and Tom is amazing, but like people were coming because they watched like the TV show. So it was like a lot of like there was like a period where it was like very aggressive, but it was kind of a really great learning experience too, because like all of us got to learn what it would be like to perform in that environment. And then like see, like I was really inspired by Tom. Even like he was always like, we're going out, we're doing the show. Like he never wanted to cancel, he never backed down. Like he always took responsibility and got up there, and like that was such a big lesson for me, and inspiring, being like, no matter what, like you show up and you do your job and you work, you gotta do it if people are relying on you. So it was cool. It's fun. It's really a great time.
No, that is super cool, and that is definitely a lesson indeed to just show up no matter what. But talk about that, like kind of I guess aggression of like some of the fans. Like what was that like, or what did you specifically like experience? Were people like ever mean to you because of?
Yes. But mostly in person. Like people are normally like nice in person. It's like mostly like on Instagram, but like on stage they would just like make mean signs, and then they would like a couple of people threw things, and then one crowd in Philadelphia made me cry.
Oh no! What happened?
They just were
what happened in Philly?
They were just
Please tell me what
they were
happened.
just like chanting mean things. And then they were chanting Maggie. My name's Maddie. They were chanting Maggie instead of Maggie or Maddie. And I don't know if they were doing it on purpose or not, but I was just like really in my head because it was like a very hostile environment. It was a long day, and I just like, I wept. But off stage. Okay. I finished my show, and then off stage I wept.
Well, congratulations for getting through the show.
Thank you.
But I'm sorry that you had that hostile environment.
All kinds of audiences, man. Like.
So they were chanting. What else were they doing?
Just like they were like aggressive. When you can like feel a group of people doesn't like you, and like having to like stand on stage and like sing and like be like, like someone hates you.
They be like, what again? You have
a little shimmy, yeah. So it was tough, but it was like I've done improv my whole life, and like sometimes like you're in a scene or you're like in a sketch or something and it's not going well, and you just gotta keep going and you gotta finish, And I think there's nothing worse than like trying to make people laugh and they're not laughing, But singing I'm not trying to make you laugh with my voice, hopefully. So that's always actually been easier for me. So
what were people saying on Instagram? And what was happening on Instagram from the whole scandal and everything? Just
I was connected to it, just because I was friends and coworkers, and just people were just like trying to place blame on somebody, and the people around too, and just being like, you had something to do with it. Why didn't you step in? But that's my friend, and like I didn't know anything, and like I don't know, like it was just. What would you do? What would you do?
I mean, I would probably do something similar in terms of like, just not really like try to separate, because I didn't have anything to do with that. It's like that had nothing to do with me, and I.
Yeah, at that point, I didn't watch the show, and so it's like if like you had something going on in like your life that had nothing to do with me, like would I get involved? Like no, like Broadway, you're my friend. Like I know you as you, So. I think that's hard for people to understand, though. So I understand it. But I've personally never gone to someone's Instagram and tried to hack it. But honestly, it's been like over a year of like, it's been pretty good and quiet. And so it's, well, not over a year now, but it's getting close to a year where it's like winded down and people are very normal again, and it's not really drama anymore. And Instagram has been pretty silent, So
this last tour you just went on, was it pretty?
It was great.
Pretty chill.
Yeah, I had a great time.
Yeah. Good fans.
Good groups of people. Yeah, different venues and not a lot of hate.
Nice.
It's been good.
What was your favorite like city to be in on tour?
We went to New Orleans. That was cool. New Orleans was really, really cool.
Yeah, I've heard good things.
And I was talking to my partner this morning even, but Savannah, Georgia. I love Savannah, Georgia. It's just beautiful. And like the people are really cool. Food's really good.
Yeah, I've been to Savannah, Georgia as a kid, but it's been a really long time.
It's great.
So I don't really necessarily remember it too much.
You gotta go. Maybe we'll go together.
Let's do it. New Orleans also is on my list. And amazing. I know people in New Orleans. I just haven't
You gotta go.
But I definitely.
It is such a music town. Nashville is also amazing. We go to Nashville every time too.
Nice.
And I love Nashville.
Yeah.
But they're just so different. This country is gigantic.
It is
gigantic. I just came back from my dad's 50th high school reunion.
Oh wow.
50th. In Kewanee, Illinois.
Okay.
Which is just a teensy weensy town. I think there's like 2,000 people. Mm-hmm. Corn. Pigs.
Okay.
Like for miles.
Okay.
Miles. It's amazing. This town, like we went to Kewanee, which is where he grew up mostly, and then we put my grandma's ashes in the ground in Aledo, and Aledo's even smaller. Like they're all just these tiny towns, and it was like 45 minutes of cornfields. Like people really don't understand how big this country is.
Yeah.
And like how different Chicago is from the rest of Illinois, and how different like Savannah, Georgia is from like Los Angeles, honey. You know what I mean? From Florida, from New York, from Manhattan. You know what I mean? Like each state, I could go on for days.
Yeah.
I love this country. It's beautiful, beautiful country.
Yeah. A lot of great parts of the country.
Yeah.
How did the whole Tom Sandoval thing come about? How did you start doing that?
I do background vocals for a lot of people. And I've been with them like 2.5 years, nearing 3, I guess. And I had just been doing different sessions and different live gigs and stuff. And then I got recommended to their music director, Colin. Hey, Colin. They're like a friend of a friend. And they reached out. And it was something like they had like a couple shows coming up. Was I available? And I was like, yeah, sounds fun. Sounds cool. I didn't know the show. I'm a bad Los Angelino. But I went and I looked and I was like, oh, this dude's got like 1 million followers. I was like, yeah, I'll hitch my tail on there, you know? And 2 shows turned into 2 months, turned into 2 years, and I'm still with them. So, yeah, it's been a really, really great gig.
For real.
A total blessing, yeah.
Yeah, so just kind of putting yourself out there, just doing different gigs, and then it just kind of happened, huh?
Yeah, and it's such a fun like way to do music because you know I was in a band called Fresh Hot Waffles, and I do my own music, and it was like a great way when I was like not making money from those shows because like all of us in Los Angeles like do this because we love it, you know. And if you can find a way to make money with your skills, like with your piano playing or with your voice, then there's a part where it becomes like not passion. And it kind of like dulls the passion. So it was really good having like Fresh Hot Waffles to like write and do songs and perform a bunch, and then having like Tom's band to like get my money and perform and sing and like do what I love to do. I felt really, really balanced doing both. So it's been good having both. You know?
Yeah. How was that? Just like balancing, okay, like you got to go on tour, but then you also got these other projects, and
it's hard. It is hard. I think when you're on the road though, there's, at least for me, like there's so much like fodder for writing. Like it feels like you just like want to like drink and taste and smell everything, which is like so good for writing, especially like I write like Americana country music. And seeing so much of like the country is like so inspiring for me, but it's hard when you have people relying on you at home. So like being in a band that doesn't really like you touring, like that can be really hard, you know? Or like I teach voice, so having like my students like waiting while I'm gone for 45 days, you know? That's hard, but it's really fulfilling if you can do both.
Yeah, so how did you like deal with it?
Well, I just would be like, oh, I'm gone for this month. I actually, for my voice students, I would you know Rainey Blake. Hey, Rainey. Yeah. Rainey's an amazing voice coach, and I have my voice coach, Joan Zajac. Go look at her. So I would recommend my students to both them while I was gone. And Rainey was awesome and was like offering them my rate. And so like they would have like subs for while I was gone. And then for like writing music, we had like travel guitars and stuff. So like we'd all be writing and stuff on the bus, and then booking shows for when I'm home, you know? Yeah.
You mentioned your voice coach.
Yeah.
How often do you like take lessons?
Once a week. Every week. Every single week.
I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Because I think that a lot of people tend to like, I think we can get like complacent with being like pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, because I started taking voice lessons with you.
Yeah.
Because you're amazing. And I was like, anytime lately, I'm really on this thing of like, if I see somebody better than me at something, I'm like, teach me your ways.
Teach me, yes.
You know,
it's such a healthy way of looking at things.
Yeah, but I think, and there have been people that have said, "What? But why though? You're a good singer already."
Yeah.
But it's like you can always get better, and I think so. I think that's dope that you take lessons once a week, and you have one of the best voices like I've ever heard. So it's like if you feel the need to take voice lessons once a week, then I think like that's a lesson for everybody that we can always be improving. We can always get better, no matter, you know, how good we think we are, how good we are even.
Yeah.
You know, I think we can always elevate.
You can. And it's a muscle. So like you want abs, baby, how often are you going to work out? You know what I mean? Like you want pecs? You want rippling biceps? Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You're going to show up or you're going to work, you know? So, like, even if I do, like, practices with my coach once a week, but I sing every day. Unless I need to, like, really rest. But it's a muscle. So, yeah.
And sometimes we can practice things all day long, but then sometimes there is something to having somebody else look and say, oh, well, maybe you should try this.
Yeah.
And it could be something you never thought of. You know, same thing with piano. Like I saw somebody better than me and I was like, hey, show me. And then doing that, you know, she would be like, oh, well, why don't you do this? Or why don't you try it? And I'd be like,
there we go. Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay. So, yeah, like I think just being open to learning, to learning
and listening,
you can unlock things maybe that you didn't you know think about before.
I always think too, like a lot of people vocally are self-taught, so we do things to like compensate or like to like reach for notes that actually like hinder us. I always think like piano too, like if you were like going up in like the full octave, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you like switch your thumb under, right? Like there's like a way to get there so you're not like doing all this crazy shit.
Right.
There's a way to do that vocally as well. You know what I mean? And if you're taught yourself piano and you just kind of do like a handover instead of figuring out how to maneuver, it might work. It might get the same sound, but is it the best path to get there? And that's where a voice coach steps in, or like a piano teacher or a guitar teacher, and says like, have you tried this, you know, to get you what you want,
right? Make
you more agile and adept at what you're doing, you know?
Sure. Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. So I'm sure as you go around, you go to shows, you hear people singing, like, what would you say are some of the common mistakes that you might hear, or when you are at shows here in LA, you hear singers, like what are some of the common things that you feel like maybe somebody should try this, or maybe a lot of people should do this?
Yeah. Okay. I'm not judgy. I think everyone has beautiful voices. First off, my peers, but
as your teacher, what's your teacher hat? I'm sure you go sometimes and your teacher hat is on.
Yeah, and I hear my own voice coach too in my head, which is like beautiful. Oh, like this person has such a beautiful tone. It's always your mouth. Okay. For me, it's always people's mouths. Okay. People tend to smile out things like bright vowels like E and I. Like E, and it like pancakes the sound when your mouth is supposed to be nice and long, and people's tongues. I see people's tongues pull back a lot, and that just adds tension. So like, you know, we talk about this in lessons.
Yeah.
So like sometimes like I won't even be looking. I'll be like at a bar ordering a drink or something, and you'll hear someone singing and they sound so freaking beautiful, and then you hear a note kind of cut off, and I in my teacher brain go, oh, she closed her mouth. Like, oh, he closed his mouth, you know? Because, like, you can, without even looking, you can hear when someone has tension or, like, something blocking their voice from coming out, you know? So that's what I'm constantly, like, open that mouth. Or, like conversely, like, Rainey, who we were just talking to, we did a writer's round where I was next to her, and her mouth was perfect. It was, like... so long, and her tongue was touching all of her teeth, and I was just sitting there like next to her like in awe. I like wasn't even listening. I was just like, look at that mouth. And I love her music. It was just perfect. So a lot of the times it's like, oh, that's good technique, you know, because people are amazing in this town. We've got so much good talent. So
for sure.
Tongue.
Okay, Open your mouth and your tongue. What and talk about the tongue again, because said the tongue placement can affect how your sound comes out.
Yes. Well, you can hear it if I started talking with my tongue back here. Like you could literally hear my tongue pull back.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So when you're singing, it has to be touching all of your bottom teeth.
Okay.
And then when you sing bright vowels, it tightens at the tip of your teeth. This is all from my voice coach. You know, I just am a parrot of she. But your tongue does the work to make the sounds bright.
Okay.
And it also has to stay out of the way.
All right.
So it has to be in the front of your mouth. And watch Whitney Houston, watch Aretha Franklin, watch like any Broadway singer. Like Joy Woods is my new favorite. But just like all these amazing vocalists who like never crack, never shatter. And look at their damn mouths. They are wide open, long open, and their tongue is forward, you know? So watch it.
Okay.
It's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other like tips that you have for people out there, like that you like hear or see?
For singing, I just like sing every day, and like if you can get your hands on like a piano app or something, like really try and understand like what your voice can do. Like try and go like we do a U vowel, right, in warm-ups. Try and go like, you, up and down the piano as high as you can and as low as you can. And give yourself context for where it's hard. And start working on those spots. Because, like, you don't have to have a coach to do it. But, like, as a singer, like, it removes some of, like, the fear and some of the mystery of what you can and can't sing. If you just plop yourself down. And, like, even, like the keyboard apps, like, have all of the notes written down. You don't need to, like, learn piano. You can just be like, that is C. It says C, you know? And then when you hear songs and you're like, oh, that's hard to sing, like, be like, hee, and find that note on a piano and say, like, oh, that's a D. Like, that's hard for me to sing. Why? You know? That's my advice.
Yeah.
Give yourself context for what your voice can do.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a question I've had before.
Okay.
And I've wondered about this because I've had people like come to me and ask me things about singing or whatever. And so what about pitch? Like I've always felt like pitch is more so one of those things where it's like either you kind of have it or you don't. But like, so it's like I know like if I'm singing, I can tell if I go off.
Yeah.
And then I can work on being better at that. But what about like have you ever like has somebody come to you and they like maybe they don't necessarily know, they can't necessarily tell always if they're on or off? Like, is there a way to improve pitch? So
I actually had an interesting conversation with my bandmate from Tom's band, Mia, who's like one of the most amazing musicians I've ever met in my whole life. And she will deny it, but she has perfect pitch. Like, this bitch can pull a fucking note out of the thin air. She's amazing. And I was kind of saying, like, I've encountered people in my life who like have no pitch. Like, they cannot sing along to a song. And I was like, I don't know if I can teach that.
Right.
And now I have a student who is amazing and had no musical experience at all with any instrument. And he had naturally bad pitch. Like, he did not hear it. But we've been working together for over a year, and his pitch is improving. So I was wrong.
Okay.
You can. And I think that it's just hearing it and doing it. Because if you don't grow up with music, or like grow up like reacting with music or interacting with it, like with a guitar or a piano or singing along like in a car, like you can't really hear that like vibration that doesn't match when you're like dissonant, you know what I mean? Like when you're like right above a note or not quite on it, you know? But like plucking a piano at him and like being like, sing this note, like he's getting it. So I think you can learn pitch.
Okay.
But I think that there are people who don't have pitch. But I think that that's something medical. And I've never met anyone who can't, like, at least a little bit hear back what's going on.
Right.
So I might not be the best person to ask. But from my experience, you can learn pitch.
Yeah, no, that was insightful just there because, like I said, I didn't know, and I've like I said, I've had people come to me and ask, you know, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard if somebody comes to you and they can't necessarily hear,
Yeah.
you know, what they're doing wrong or whatever.
Yeah. I will say, like, as a singer, sometimes, like, you can hear the right pitch, but you don't have, like, the muscle support to maintain it.
Sure.
So you'll find yourself going flat or sharp or something, you know, like, it depends, like, what you're doing. But, like, some people, it's just, like, your body isn't cooperating with what your brain can hear. So that can be really frustrating, but that's your muscles and your body, and you've got to practice other things, you know? Other
things like what? If a note's not coming out right, then practice things like
supporting yourself with your diaphragm, you know. We do the pulling out under the chair, like sitting on a chair and pulling out hard underneath you. It engages your core muscles, and those are the muscles that should be engaged when you're singing. So practicing like singing while doing that, pulling really hard, you know, lifting something heavy like a piano or a dresser, you know, you feel those muscles engage in your tummy and your butt, and those are the muscles that need tightening and pushing when you're singing. And if you're not doing that, you don't really have any support, so no wonder you're flat, you know? Even if you have all the good pitch in the world, it doesn't matter, you know?
All right. Right on.
Yeah.
Okay. So also I wanted to ask you about Taylor Saxon, your roommate.
Yeah.
Which also one of the best voices I've ever heard in my life.
She's so good.
That is like way too much vocal power for one house.
It's really rude.
Like,
I thought you meant Taylor. Yeah.
No,
she's
for
rude.
Like, for your house, like that doesn't even make sense. Like, why is that much vocal power in one house? I don't understand. It's not fair, really. Honestly.
You. Yeah.
How did y'all like become friends? How did like?
Oh, we met on Instagram. Really? I think we were running in a similar community. You know, like we have a bunch of mutual friends already. And we just like were written in the same font. If you look at both of our Instagrams, it's like both like browns and blonde hair. Like it's like, like big sweaters and bolo ties. So I think we started DMing and had dinner and just got along really, really well. I sang on some of her shows and some of her songs that she was doing live sessions for one of her songs, Liz. That's amazing. And we just became fast friends. And I had lived in this house in Glendale with 5 of us, and 2 of them had to move out, and Taylor and her partner were looking for a new place, and it just kind of was absolutely perfect.
Awesome.
It's awesome. We have a musical little cottage in the woods, and it's amazing.
Maddi,
Broadway,
thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you too.
And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
We're going to do that lesson.
We're going to do that lesson right now.
You know, that was a really great conversation. It's almost like we've done this before.
Yeah.
Just for FYI, I want to give Maddi some props because we actually did do this interview.
We did, yeah.
Another day. And I fucked up with some of the audio and video shit. And Maddi was so gracious about coming back and doing it all over again. I feel like some people would have been like, fuck you, dude.
Never.
Like, I'm not doing that shit again.
No.
But I appreciate you coming back.
I'll do it again. When this all gets erased, I'm coming back.
Don't say that because I got to check all the shit because maybe something's fucked up.
No.
Yeah, you're like, no.
I will come back, though. I will, yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Have a good one, man.
All right.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Broadway, the host. If you got something out of that episode, definitely go ahead and hit the like button. Also, subscribe and turn on the notifications so you can get notified whenever we drop new episodes. If there was something specific that you learned or found interesting, put that in the comments. Also, if there was something that you thought you were going to learn more about, wanted to hear more about, and you didn't, put that in the comments as well. We can use that to make these episodes better going forward. Thank you again for checking out. They're good at that shit.